Hey, y'all, welcome to the Unleashed Performance Therapy Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Robert McNair, and we've got a very special guest on the show today, one of my favorite educators. He's a professional therapist for sports therapy, and he is an expert in telehealth. Dr. Jared Aguilar. Dr. Aguilar, how are we doing today?
Wow, what a very kind and generous intro, Jamie. That was lovely. I'm doing well. I'm cold, but I'm doing well. Hey, Jamie. Hey, Robert.
And you're in Austin, right?
Yeah, I was based out of Austin. Moved here for physical therapy school. Now I lived just outside of Austin in San Marcos, Texas.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I know that during school you were kind of mentioning how you started, or you were in telehealth at that time, as well as teaching. So how did you get into telehealth exactly?
Yeah, ever since I was in physical therapy school, I was drawn to telehealth. It still seems like a new frontier. So it was even more new then. There were some two figures that educated me on the space. One PT's name was Rob Vining. Another who also lives in Austin now, Dr. Alan Besselink, who you may know in the Austin area. They were big proponents of telehealth. When I was in PT school, I had a podcast quite similar to what y'all are doing now, which is awesome.
I think I saw that. I have a question about the name.
Oh, okay. Sorry to jump ahead, but yeah, Rob Vining, Alan Besselink, and Mark Milligan, who was also based in Austin, all physical therapist. And also, I would say these people really educated me on telehealth from discussions with them, seeing the moves they were making in the space, and just being something new in the physical therapy profession. I was always drawn to that, whether I like new shiny things or just try to be on the cutting edge of something. I was kind of drawn to that, and saw a few people here and there as a newer grad, and then boom, when you know it, COVID happens, and then it becomes a bigger deal.
Yeah, and I think that the prevalence of telehealth now it's just exploded. So I think a lot more people are getting into it. A lot more people they know about it. So what are some of the pros and what are some of the cons of being a telehealth physical therapist?
I'll do the cons first because I think they're quite easy, and because it's so new, the biggest thing we get from patients and also physical therapists and other providers is how the heck do you do physical therapy via telehealth? Somebody was in my LinkedIn DMs last week trying to network with me. Not even like a follower or connection, just one of those randos that tries to sell you something. And so they're not even, they're in like the request messaging section. They're like, hey, you're a telehealth physical therapist. How does that even work? Aren't you supposed to put hands on people and stretch people? And I just, immediate block.
Yeah.
No. Well, and to be fair, right, it's called physical therapy. If you Google a stock image of a physical therapist, they're probably taking somebody through a hamstring stretch and giving them a yellow TheraBanded scapular retractions. So it is hard for people to conceptualize. Of course, that's an easy con. You can't physically be in the same room with somebody. You can't put your hands on the patient, which if that's how you were taught, if you went to a school that was very pathoanatomical based or biomechanical based, and you're like, look, I gotta put my hands on somebody to feel the tissue limitations. I gotta feel those trigger points. I gotta be able to see, are they at 110 degrees versus 105 degrees? That's going to make a big difference in my treatment. I can't watch somebody squat online. I got to see them in person. That's all cool. And then, just telehealth's not for you. That could be one of the cons if that's how you practice and that's how you're drawn to. I think, we'll get into the pros here in a minute. I think a lot of people do well with telehealth. There's also a lot of patients and populations that it doesn't work for. If you have drastic balance issues, working on gait, working on those particulars. Certainly not safe to do telehealth
Mm-hmm.
if you have somebody with balance issues. And we've had a few of our colleagues, some patients get angry when, they're like, hey, I want to do telehealth physical therapy. And we're like, yeah, we'd love to work with you, but unfortunately, to take you through these exercises and you live alone, it's just not safe for what we're
Yeah,
doing. Uh, but
and
then before I get into the pros,
well, I
any
was gonna
thoughts on
say
that for the
that
cons?
you have to. I guess you have to choose which people are good candidates for telehealth in that sense.
Totally not, and which is the same as if you would how you go through your clinical reasoning to determine if they're a good fit for physical therapy, even to be in your clinic or your office too. So, um,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And what are
I
some
think
things that? Oh, go ahead.
oh, my bad. Um Probably going off the this particular subject, still with the kind of cons, but even face to face, I know sometimes you gotta sell it to the patient because you gotta have them buy into them improving and all that. And I can only imagine that it could be even worse doing telehealth. So have you ran across people where they're not really sold on it? I mean, they've given the telehealth a try, and you're like, all right, we got to stick with this. It's gonna work, or it's gonna show some type of improvement.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because buy-in, especially early on, I think we're all taught, and we all can feel it's the most one of the most important things in getting a patient to comply with the exercise and all that stuff. Um, for telehealth, though, it's rarely will you get somebody, if you work with them via telehealth, that they'll have a previous telehealth experience because it's kind of new. You'll definitely for a lot of people you'll get, hey, I went to physical therapy before, here was my experience, I had some PT before. I've worked with a few people at the telehealth company I'm with that, yeah, they may have tried a different company, and that was their experience, because each company does a little bit of stuff differently. um, that's a great point. There's a lot of skeptics out there. We've converted a lot of skeptics that they'll tell you a few visits in, like, hey, I thought this telehealth physical therapy stuff wouldn't work for me. I didn't know how it could be done, but this was amazing and I love it. And this is how I want to get all my rehab from now on. But yeah, going back to the question, um, so the cons work well with describing the difficulties of buy-in. You can't put your hands on somebody. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason why I think we all got into this, and I know y'all do coaching too, is the therapeutic effect of putting your hands on somebody. Incredibly powerful, as we know. Whether that person is just having a painful shoulder, like, Rob, man, I would just love it if somebody could dig in there or just help take my shoulder to that range of motion. Super powerful, especially if I'm scared, um, or have kinesiophobia. There's that 14-point Scrabble word. And then, of course, on a realer side, there's lonely people out there that just haven't been touched in a while, and that's
Mm-hmm.
another good benefit to getting the buy-in. But as we enter into the pros, not to spend too much time yapping y'all's ears off, but another good thing about telehealth, the pro related to buy-in, it is guaranteed one-on-one with that patient. Similar to working in the home health setting, you are interacting with the person in either their home or their work, and it can be a very intimate setting. I think uh, with the advancements in technology, and especially post COVID, this is kind of the new norm of how we interact with people. We're interacting with y'all through the internet, and it's kind of become the norm. So your communication skills, your interpersonal skills, your rapport building skills, um, your humor, none of that goes away in the internet. You may have to exaggerate a little bit, but just as you would build that rapport with somebody in person, you can do it the same way in telehealth.
Okay, well, how often would you say that you are on a telehealth call throughout the week?
Yeah, so for right now, I do telehealth probably 90% of my patient care is telehealth.
Mm-hmm.
I have a full time telehealth position
Okay.
that I work during the week.
And I'm sure that there are plenty of others that are doing the same thing. Do you have a lot of coworkers
Yeah.
that are also like full time in the same company
Oh
and
yeah.
whatnot?
Oh yeah. The company I work for, we're all full time telehealth
Mm-hmm.
employees. We have a few folks that also do in person. Um, I treat clients all locally in
Yeah.
person on the side. Um, yeah.
And that kind of goes to show you like how many people there actually are that will benefit from telehealth. If you can have multiple therapists having a full caseload in one city, I mean, it shows you how much it's grown.
Yeah, and the other cool thing about telehealth, to brag on telehealth, is it's right now it's national. A lot of these companies popping up. There's a few big prominent ones, um, and a lot of them are requiring their therapists be licensed across all 50 states
Oh, really?
and DC. So
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm licensed in every state plus DC,
Oh, really?
which yeah, it was a process. So we can talk
I
about
bet,
that
man.
more.
I bet.
Well, lots of jurisprudence exams to
Uh-huh.
take, lots of fees. Um, so yeah, it's and
Well
again
worth
that
it, I'm
opens you
sure.
up to, oh yeah, for sure, and it opens you up to treat those people in rural areas or busy areas from Alaska to DC.
And where, so I've talked to a couple of people about telehealth, and I've told them how much it's growing and it's continuing to grow. Where do you feel like telehealth is going at this point?
Yeah, it seems like it's getting more and more popular. Um, More people are recognizing that telehealth physical therapy is a thing. Uh, Unfortunately, COVID was something that made that even more popular.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we won't have another pandemic or another disease like that to further its popularity. I think a lot of people now. We have some folks that we're working with. It's not that they uh, maybe not wouldn't necessarily prefer telehealth over in person, or not even the fact that they live in a rural area, but maybe they just have a busy job. Uh, Even though they live in a city, they just don't have the time to commit to 2-3 visits a day a week in person. What works for them is a 15-30 minute telehealth visit to check
Mm-hmm.
in. uh, Kind of similar to remote programming, if y'all are familiar with that, right? We have there's a certain
Yeah.
population, um, maybe I'm sure you guys can relate to this, right? Hey, I know how to work out, I know how to train, I need somebody to look at my exercise programming, design me a program. I'm gonna go put the work in. I'll send you some videos for form corrections if needed. Let's talk for
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes, talk strategy. I'm good. I don't need to sit here and watch you do wall angels and clams for 30 minutes, right? um, so
And so how long is your telehealth visit typically?
typically it can range
It
from,
depends, right?
you know I was trying
PT.
not to
There
say
it
that.
is. There it is.
It depends. No, longer sessions, 45 minutes, um, which I'm sure if you get a talker, we
Oh
all like
yeah.
to talk. If you get somebody who's having a rough day, but you go into bartender mode and like you're just
Uh-huh.
taking all the problems. Uh, of
You
course,
know,
it can go that long.
I actually had that happen to me today. Now that you say that's funny. My patient walks in and he's coming in and he's like, "Hey, um, I was wondering if we can just do a light workout today and we can just talk."
Yes, yes.
Hey.
And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
man. Everything you need, I'm here for you." And yeah, he was in a well, he was upset because his wife was upset that he was in rehab and inpatient setting and he couldn't help her do what she needed to do. They're renting out it's a whole thing. But yeah, he was really
yeah,
down. But yeah, it always turns into one of those therapy sessions that's not a therapy session.
yeah. And that's, you probably listening to him say that, right? And hearing him out, just listening. That's probably way more important and way more valuable than having him do any squat or other rehab
Yeah.
thing you're going to do that day, right?
100%, man.
In regards
Oh,
to like
go ahead.
say you're saying sometimes every now and then you might have just that 15-minute check-in kind of thing. Then you're saying your full sessions maybe 45 minutes. Not to dive too deep into all like as far as units and payment, insurance and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But is it along the same lines as like an in person where you're charging units, or are you more, hey, once your face pops up on my screen, that's the XXX amount and you're paying for it regardless how long we're on here.
Yeah, right, like the old bit they do for psychologists, right? And our time's up. When you're done,
Yeah.
you go on to the next one.
Just hang up on
Um,
them.
that's the beauty of telehealth, right? If you don't like the patient, you can just be like, "Yeah, I think our internet connection's fuzzy. Ugh,
There you
you're on
go.
mute. I can't hear you. Sorry, let's reschedule."
You just be like,
No, I never do that.
pretend you're frozen. Pretend you're frozen, and then
Perfect.
I'm sorry. That was weird. Like you were insulting me and saying physical therapy is stupid. It's weird how we cut out for 50 minutes. No, and yeah, that's a great question. And I'll also say 15 minutes can even be generous for some folks too. Some folks are like, you can get a visit done in like 5 or 10, especially if it's just a quick
Mhm.
check-in, which is pretty ridiculous when you think about traditionally we're trained to have these 8 minutes for a unit for Medicare, and there's a lot of there's the Zoom AI thumbs up, but yeah, and people people pushing productivity and charging them as many units. Another cool thing about telehealth is it allows more flexibility for that in regards to maybe you work for a company, or maybe you as a provider have a relationship with an employer, and you are now in their benefits package. So instead of
Mhm.
oh my god, we're stressing because we have to get 4 units a visit, now we're not as stressed about those productivity standards because hey, we're a part of your benefits package as a telehealth physical therapy offering. We're already paid up front. It really doesn't matter how many
Okay, yeah.
units or how many visits, because we're included in this package. We have
I
this,
didn't even
we're
think
this
about
a
that.
partner.
Nice.
Yeah, so and of course that works with in-person services too, right? There's different models, fee for service, partnership. So yeah, telehealth, of course, you still have those units. If you're billing insurance directly, your private insurances, similar to Medicare, but maybe you could argue there's other opportunities for variation of billing with telehealth.
Okay, that's good to know. Well, switching gears a little bit, we'll get off the telehealth train. I know that you also spent a lot of time working with athletes, and specifically CrossFit athletes in a CrossFit gym. So, you want to tell us a little bit about what it's like working with that population?
Yeah, yeah, it's fun, man. Every CrossFit gym is different. Very very little standardization. If you were to go to a CrossFit gym in Texas versus Florida, right, or even in two gyms in Austin can be totally different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I was in PT school, I had some classmates push me towards learning more about CrossFit. Before that, I was just gym bro, going to the gym, doing your standard bodybuilding type lifts. Nothing wrong with that. But of course, getting into physical therapy, wanting to work more with athletes, I got pushed into that. Ended up coaching, getting my level 1, and coached CrossFit at CrossFit Austin. Shout out CrossFit Austin, for about 5 years or so, on and off. And yeah, it was such a great experience while I was there, closer to full time, while in school, because you get to work with the community that's so invested in their fitness and health, and that look to you as a coach, as a physical therapist, as somebody that can help them stay more on the spectrum of wellness and fitness and away from injury and disease. So yeah, the CrossFit gym community, most gyms, most communities out there are really lovely to work with.
And
Yeah, that's awesome.
do you do a whole lot of manual therapy with these athletes? Because you taught us you were the instructor for our soft tissue class, and so I personally I really enjoy manual therapy, and so it's something that I'm really passionate about learning about.
Yeah, and both of y'all were excellent at it, by the way. Yeah, and I think now, especially since most of my caseload is online telehealth, I do kind of jump at the chance to
Do some
put
hands-on
hands on
stuff.
people. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, do some hands-on stuff.
Yeah. Put some hands on people.
Trying to word that in an appropriate way. And yeah, it's so yeah, we'll definitely break out some manual therapy, whether it's your soft tissue techniques or more joint mobilization. Um, a lot of I don't want to generalize, but in the CrossFit community, a lot of times chiropractors have been very good at marketing to those gyms.
Yeah.
So you may find that some of those athletes are interested in that pop, interested in a cavitation.
Yeah.
So if you being a physical therapist, right, in most states, you can also do those techniques too. So that can come in handy, knowing those treatment techniques.
Absolutely. And I was kind of creeping through your website, and you offer body tempering.
Ugh. Trying to get that SEO, Jamie. Trying to put it out there. I need to update that website.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I think we talked about body tempering a little bit in the past. And yeah, it's body tempering is one of those things where I think have y'all heard of it? Have y'all used it and done it before?
Well, I honestly forgot all about it until I saw it on your website, and then I was like, I think he told us about this during class one day.
Yeah.
That was my first time hearing it in class. So
yeah, part of me was like, I should have just one day, bring in a 80-pound, 100-pound roller all the way up to the second story. That sounds awful. And do some body tempering. But no, it's if anybody's out there interested, or if you want to learn more, I don't know the full history of how it came about to be called body tempering and not just heavy freaking metal foam rollers on your legs. Donnie Thompson is at least the biggest name that comes to mind that made it popular. I don't know if he even coined the term body tempering. He seemed to be the only person doing it. And of course, as you would assume, body tempering using a heavy metal roller, 80, 110, 120 pounds. If you can visualize somebody laying on a comfortable pad on their stomach, laying prone, and then you're gently placing or gently rolling this heavy object on their body. Very popular with power lifters, bodybuilders, the bigger, the thick boy and girl community. But of course, there's some smaller frame people that like it too. It's just a way to disperse pressure if you like that type of sensation.
It sounds nuts.
Yeah,
it is nuts. It is nuts. Yeah, it's one of those things too where everybody's not going to be into it. It is an option. If you have somebody, like I had somebody in the past working with them, they were coming to me for physical therapy, and then right after they're working with the strength and conditioning coach.
Okay.
And when I was in a situation like that under the same clinic, you're like, damn, well, everything I want to do with this patient is more strength and conditioning focused as exercise. And I'm kind of, for lack of a better word, stuck with them for 30 minutes. And I really am kind of just limited to manual therapy. Nothing against a 30-minute manual therapy session, but I kind of run out of ideas if you get to do all the active stuff. So, side note, this patient was also like ex Navy SEAL, like very hardcore, intense person, multiple concussions, has seen it all, jumping out of airplanes and stuff. And I'm sitting there doing like very just grade 1-2 mobilizations to this dude's shoulder, trying to get him ready for the workout. And I'm like, man, going through your manual therapy stuff. And one day he had a heart to heart, like the second visit in, he's like, hey man, this ain't working. And like he kind of, he kind of cornered me and stuff in this little small area of the gym. I'm like, oh, please don't kill me. He's like, yeah. So he was just like, hey, I just need some more intense stuff. And he's like, I need some more intense stuff. I'm like, all right, man, bet. So, you think back to, you kind of have to open up come out of the box, think outside the box a little bit. You think back to, all right, so, what do we have as far as aggressive things that, you could argue, I don't think this was appropriate for this patient or not. That's a whole nother discussion, but regardless, this patient needs a feeling of increased intensity to his soft tissue techniques. Didn't have a body tempering roller at the time. So what do? We grab a foam roller, we grab a barbell. If you want to call them mashing techniques, aggressive soft tissue techniques, you can certainly use a kettlebell, use heavy objects to perform gentle soft tissue massage or trigger points, or whatever you want to call it, to these areas. Wouldn't you know it, he's a fan, because he loves intensity. He loves feeling like pressure on his person. It feels like it's doing stuff. The researchers can come in and then we can have a discussion of whether or not it's doing stuff, which is a great discussion to have. And I'll be the first person to crap on modalities. But, kind of going back to the buy-in, this was an intense dude that needed a feeling of something intense. And if you ever have a patient like that, body tempering is something that can maybe get you out of that hole.
Okay, that reminds me of I don't know if you've read what's it called? Becoming a Supple Leopard. Have you read that book by Kelly Starrett?
Oh yeah, Kelly Starrett.
Yeah, he talks a lot about mashing and doing those kinds of techniques with kettlebells and barbells. That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah, and that's exactly who I was kind of referencing. Yeah, in PT school, I had a friend that was he's the biggest Kelly Starrett fan alive, and got me that book. And kind of Kelly Starrett, I think, is probably one of the most famous, widely known physical therapists, I would say so, out there, at least in the mainstream space, not like research space, right? Academic, but mainstream. Hey, dude's got pictures with him and Obama working on these physical activity initiatives and all that other stuff, which is awesome. Had the chance to meet him once.
Oh, really?
Name dropping. Super cool guy out there in San Francisco. But yeah, he was definitely one of the people too that popularized here's how to do soft tissue work using foreign objects, kettlebell, barbell, and really kind of ushering in a wave of CrossFit athletes and other athletes trying to quote unquote fix themselves, which is pretty cool.
Were you in school when you met him?
I was, yeah. Me and some classmates, we took a trip out to San Francisco for a continuing education course. Oh. Because we were like, we hate money and we want to spend it on continuing education courses, apparently. And we want to network. So yeah, it was me and two of my close friends from PT school. And yeah, took a trip out to San Francisco for a continuing education course. And while we were there, we went to, at the time, San Francisco CrossFit, which was Kelly Starrett's gym. Unfortunately, it closed down now, and did some CrossFit workouts, hung out with him and his staff, and yeah, it was a super cool experience. It was one of those things. Now I look at it, I'm like, that was a lot of money we just shot out there for just for a whim. You got passion. You're like, man, we're gonna network. We're gonna meet all these people.
You spent all that money that way you could name drop today. That's what it was.
That's right.
It was for today.
That's right, y'all. It was worth it. It came full circle. Here, could have invested in Apple or something. Nah, let's go to San Francisco. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's a super cool experience, and it's as y'all are in PT school now, like you're super hungry, you're super motivated, super passionate. Not saying to make dumb financial decisions, but
we all
maybe
do
make
it, man.
smart,
Smart.
yeah,
Smarter,
smart financial decisions.
Smarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you've got a lot of experience working with different populations, these athletes, and then you've got your telehealth. What do you feel like prompted you to be in teaching?
Yeah, great question. Teaching is pretty awesome. It gives you that sense of giving back to the community, which could be a cheesy line, but man, it is really powerful working with the next generation, younger students that are hungry, passionate, that want to change the system or change the profession for a better, change healthcare for a better, and also help reflect more diversity in the student body and, of course, in healthcare and academia. We've all had bad experiences with educators and teachers in all of our education. So part of that motivation is to be on the good side of interactions with students, because I think a lot of grad school can be toxic and demanding unnecessarily, and I think there should be a change to that, at least a little bit.
I love that mindset,
but
yeah, because I have had some pretty terrible educators, and I've been in school a long time, and I've had a lot of different instructors, and I can tell you each and every terrible one, and I can also point out the good ones, as per my introduction.
He did very kind generous words. Yeah. And yeah, too, I think, we know how hard university is. We know how hard grad school is. When I was in grad school, I had a lot of friends that didn't make it through physical therapy school, and you're like,
yeah.
And part of you kind of sits back and you're like, how much was that on the student? How much was that on the system?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of subjectivity that goes into grading, and even the perception of how I view someone as a student. One thing that probably should be talked about more in academia is implicit bias, right?
Absolutely.
Because we talk about that a lot in healthcare for our patients. Like, oh, we don't judge them on their socioeconomic status. We don't judge on their color, sexual orientation. Sometimes that gets left out when you're talking to your student population or your academia. Sometimes you just throw that out the window and you forget that you have to analyze, like, was I being hard on that student unnecessarily when it comes to, more subjective items.
And that's kind of like that.
We're gonna have to clip that and send it out.
Oh, don't get me in trouble, Rob. Don't you get me in trouble. Don't you? God dang it! No, yeah. I think it's true, and yeah, I'm just joking, but we've had conversations like this with other educators too, and it's hard. It's hard to check your implicit biases, and it's hard to work with people.
Yeah,
just as a general thing, because you gotta have a certain level of empathy, and we all know empathy fatigue is a thing, and that's burnout, and you only have so much energy to give throughout a day, throughout a trimester.
Absolutely. Do you feel like there are specific or more prevalent mistakes that some students make that are coming out of grad school?
I saw this question. We talked about it yesterday, and I wanted to open with listen to those old farts coming out of school. But I think it's thinking back to me and some of my friends going through new grad, just graduating, and I'm sure I've heard of imposter
Oh yeah.
syndrome. Of course, that's the thing. A lot of people talk about suffering with it. Which and there's a nice quote somebody said of, hey, in imposter syndrome, if you didn't have it, that would mean that you are the imposter, right? Because you're actually thinking about it, that means, hey, you actually are good because you're analyzing your skills and all that stuff. But hey, that being said, I would caution people on not letting, we'll just call them the old farts, old curmudgeon physical
Yeah.
therapists that hate the profession, that hate themselves, get in their head and kind of fill their mind with like, oh, this profession sucks. Oh, nothing we do matters. Or oh, I know how to treat the best way. I've gone to, I only take continuing education courses by this person, and this person is, this philosophy is the best way to treat people. So I'd say just watch out for the excessive negative talkers, and watch out for the people that are stuck in their this is the only way of how to do things, not treat people.
And you can kind of pick those people out, the ones that are the ones that tell you that there's only one way, and that's where you can see that those people aren't in the right profession, or they just hit a place in their life to where that they need to do something else.
Isn't it wild? I'm sure y'all have stories too, right? Where you can smell it, you can feel it, the sadness on some of those folks, right?
Yeah. Just
like,
oozing
oh,
out,
like
right?
your life. You're like, oh, your life
He
sucks.
doesn't want to be here.
Yeah.
You're an unhappy person.
Yeah, everything they talk about, it's always
Negative.
the bad in it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
terrible.
I hate negativity, man, and especially in the workplace. Like I got to spend all day with someone, and they're just negative all day. I can't do it. I cannot do it.
Yeah, and I'm sure y'all too. Like I've had to leave workplaces because of that, right? Because this is toxic. You can kind of feel it seeping in, and then that adds to your burnout, and then you're like, well, and then you start having all those doubts, right? Like the last question, like, did I make the right choice getting into this profession? Did I make the right choice working here? So I'm definitely prone to those negative burnout spirals, which another pro of telehealth allows me to manage that a little bit better than I used to do in some in-person places, because I do get to be at home, and I very much like being at home.
Well, before we wrap it up, man, I got one more question. If you go back in time, what is one thing that you would tell yourself before you graduated PT school?
Don't spend all your money going to San Francisco.
Kelly Starrett doesn't care.
Kelly Starrett doesn't care.
Yeah.
That's like,
awesome.
not kidding. He's a great guy.
No, I think he's a great guy. Yeah, the Ready State sponsored this podcast, so shout out to the Ready State. Yeah, what's one thing? I think I would definitely share what we talked about in the previous question, and jumping off of the self-awareness, which takes time for everybody. I'd like to hear y'all's thoughts too on identifying how you respond, or learning how you respond when you're stressed, and when you're burnt out. That's super valuable. I have a partner that's super supportive, and can recognize and tell me when I'm in that state, because sometimes you don't freaking know, right? You just you get off of a long shift or whatever, and you're like, I still got notes to do, I didn't get to work out today. And then you have a partner, so you can be like, well, you're starting to spiral now. Let's get you out of let's get you to take a break there, buddy. And come out of that headspace, because I'm prone to that. I'm prone to that vicious spiral where everything just closes in and gets dark. So learning how to manage that, learning how to protect your mental health. So take more PTO.
Yeah.
Right. Don't be a hero. I tried to be a hero early on in the career, and just hustle and work because you're excited to get out of school. Learn how to set boundaries. Learn how to say no more often, whether that's working late to get more notes done, or because you didn't get enough notes done during the day, staying late, working through lunches and stuff. Set those boundaries with those employers, with those. Can't really do it too much with school, but with employers and with other relationships. Sorry. I'll give you a boundary to set, right? But yeah, setting those boundaries, saying no more often, and then whether it's seeking a mental health therapist to make sure you protect that, so you don't turn into an old curmudgeon person.
Yeah, exactly.
What about y'all? What do y'all have to
Well,
add on to that?
me personally, I of course agreeing with all that. I took the different route where I was a tech for forever, which I had people asking me like, when are you actually gonna go back to school and do stuff? But luckily for me, I was working at these private clinics where it was a small kind of coworker family, and we were real close, and they supported me even outside of work. So it was a paraphrasing along the lines of chase those dreams. You can be a therapist all your life, but you won't be able to play soccer all your life, or you won't be able to do this all your life. So go ahead, and that's something that you have like an ambition for, or you want to aspire to do this, go ahead and try it or do it, and then you can come back to the therapy thing, but don't lose sight of the therapy thing. So I was
Yeah,
getting that support in and out of the clinic, and luckily for me, one clinic, I work with a lot of old school therapists that I mean, they were, any old school therapist is going to kind of be set in their ways, but they were open minded about stuff. And then the other clinic, I was working with new grads, so I got to see different viewpoints of stuff. And I think with that support and the different outlooks I saw and stuff like that, it kind of kept me away from the burnout of being a tech for so long. And I think going into grad school, I knew that, okay, I might get this from this certain professor, but I know that's not what it is out in the real world, or what it's going to be for the next however many months. Let me just power through this, and then I'll be able to continue with my journey, not necessarily theirs because they're set in their ways. Then I go on my own journey. So yeah, I'm very appreciative of all the therapists that I've worked with and the PT world around me that I've been in. So definitely.
Absolutely. I think I've had a lot of influential people, not only therapists, but a lot of influential people throughout my college career. And I think about it all the time. That's kind of what made me the PTA that I am today. And I hope that I can continue building on that into becoming a doctor of physical therapy.
yeah,
And
y'all
I think
will totally.
Dr. Aguilar is the first one to ask us a question on our
I
show,
know,
huh?
right? He flipped it on us.
Yeah.
He flipped the script on us.
Putting us on the spot.
I made sure I wanted to really make sure I do that. You ready for this name drop? I'm name dropping like
There you go.
mother. Shout out to Jeff Moore, and all the gang at the crew at PT on Ice. We interviewed them on a podcast, and yeah, he like you go through interviewing these people. You love to interview people, right? You love it's you try to highlight the guests, and
Yeah.
get them talking and make them feel comfortable. And he was one of the first few people too that flipped it. It was like, oh, wait up, like, why are y'all doing this? Like what's the purpose of your show? And I always respected that, and one, it shows like you're getting more engagement, and y'all are more than hosts too, right? That are asking the questions. Like y'all have thoughts and comments, too. So yeah, no, what's y'all's purpose for the
Well,
show?
me personally, I enjoy learning, and any opportunity that I can get to learn something new about being the medical professional that I am, I'm gonna take that opportunity, and I think this allows me to have people on that I can learn from that I probably wouldn't be able to otherwise. Like we can sit down and have a conversation about any topic, something that they're really good at, whatever their niche is, and I can learn something new. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah, I think it's just putting me in a kind of a different position to kind of force me to better myself in other ways. Just like Jamie said with the learning. Okay, if we're gonna do this, I mean, I need to kind of know my stuff before we have somebody on here and trying to get them to say something that I don't know, just in case they flip the question around on me, and now I'm sitting here looking crazy. So I think I it's much appreciated because I've kind of gone out of my way um, to like research certain things. So it's expanded my everything.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the
I told
go
you all
ahead.
this.
No, go ahead.
No, you go,
Well,
man. It's your show. You're the
I was just so the duck legs. That was the podcast name.
oh boy.
What is that
Yeah.
about? The duck legs.
I envisioned the Duck Legs podcast as like the Fight Club. If you saw that movie of a physical therapy podcast, it's like it was loved. It's loved by a select few mentally disturbed people. No, and I'm joking because we tried to make and we tried to make a podcast or content for the folks that kind of felt like they were the underdogs or that they were kind of outcasts. I think that was our mentality. We tried to create, I think we did create a comedy, maybe a comedy podcast or interview show that happened to talk about physical therapy because at the time we were like, man, a lot of these we love physical therapy and stuff. But a lot of these podcasts are dry and boring, so we kind of just like want to have a podcast where we have somebody like freestyle on the show or like
Nice.
ask one of our guests like a really dumb question. Like we asked one of my friends one of our interviews after I remember who it was. I think it was Ryan Smith. And we're like, hey, from conversations, right? We knew how much of his passion for like social work and justice. So we were like, towards the end, he only had like a minute left. We're like, hey Ryan, he's a white dude by the way. You're like, hey Ryan, how about you take the last minute and explain white privilege to us? Just be like, just ridiculous stuff, right? Things that could get maybe get us in trouble or have some negative comments, which we did. But yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, man. As a student, podcasting is such a powerful tool because you get these free, easy networking opportunities where there may be a little more friction for you calling up somebody and saying, hey, somebody I met on LinkedIn, can I call you and talk to you for 30 minutes? They may be like, I don't really know you. But if you're like, hey, I got a podcast and an audience, you can promote yourself and promote your course. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to get those people on because people love content and promote their stuff. But yeah, and then I'm sorry, I'm talking too much, but the name of the duck legs, we got it because there was a quote we found where you should be like a duck, calm on top of the surface and paddling like hell underneath. We're like, that's a dumb name for our dumb podcast. Let's run with it.
I like it.
Nice.
Yeah. And shout out to Trace and Tyler. We're not recording anymore just because life gets in the way, but love those dudes. And it was we just had a blast and learned a lot. Ups, downs, things we totally redo, but it's part of growth and moving forward.
That's good. I'm glad that you were able to experience that, and I hope that we can have as much fun and learn as much as we can what we do our thing.
Yeah, with a little physical therapy sprinkled on
it. Yeah. Sure.
All right, man. Well, anyways, we appreciate you taking some time out of your night, man. I know you're a busy guy. Thanks for being on the show. We appreciate you.
He's a legend.
Too kind.
Yeah, he practices across 50 states.
Oof.
Man is licensed everywhere.
Everywhere. Wherever you going, I can treat you. I can charge you units.
What you need?
What you need? You want to have an in-depth discussion about knee valgus in Wisconsin? We can do that. Oh, you got to go to vacation in Florida. Guess what? I'm licensed there too. Let's go.
Oh man, that's great.
Well,
There's a commercial there somewhere. That would be a great commercial.
That's a great commercial for just a select few physical therapy nerds. They're like, that was funny. I like the way you did that.
Yeah.
oh man.
Everybody else, you're just creepy.
Yeah, just this is a stalker. I don't like this.
That's great.
It was good to have you on, man. We appreciate it. We really do. It means a lot.
Hi guys. Hey, it's an honor to be asked, my friend. Thank y'all.
Well, that's going to be it for this episode of the Unleashed Performance Therapy Podcast. If you have a question or have anything you want us to talk about on the podcast, shoot us a DM at the Instagram at unleashed.tx. And y'all, be sweet to me. Scroll down to the bottom, give me a 5-star review, share the podcast with your family and friends. And until next time, peace.